Hi Virgo, welcome to your March 2025 AstroTarot scope with me, Raphael from Reydiant Reality. It's an absolute pleasure to have you. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for joining me. Quick note, these are for your sun, moon and ascendant sign. Check them out for all three so that you know which part of you I resonate with most as a reader. Now, with that said, remember I'm using whole sign tropical Western astrology for those of you that must know, and for if you're only going to watch one of these, watch it for your ascendant sign. It's going to be the most accurate for you on that day-to-day level. With that said, I would like to bless my decks of cards with all forms of love, light, peace, prosperity and abundance, and I pray that the messages that come through are ultimately clear and concise and they help you on your path to your highest vibrational good. Now with that, I do want to mention, remember, if I ever forget to give you the dates or the degrees of a transit that I'm talking about, you will find that stuff in the description box below. All right, so don't panic, don't worry, no biggie, as they say. All right, so I'm just going to give these a shuffle, and these will be for your lunations this month. Your lunations are eclipses, right? So big moments. On the 2nd of the month, Venus is going to go retrograde in your 8th house. The 8th house is a money house. It's a financial house. Venus represents money. Now, Venus for you rules your 2nd house of money, finances and resources. And Venus for you also rules your 9th house of higher beliefs, aspirations and philosophies and your spiritual path. Now, Venus retrograding in the 8th is bringing a highlight to shared resources and finances, intimacy. It's also highlighting any wounds or fears that maybe need to be addressed at this moment in time that haven't been or need to be. The transit is inviting you to take a really good look at the dynamics in your closest partnerships on that intimate level. It's also asking you to really think about where any fears or doubts may be lingering, and like when it comes to giving and receiving in equal measure. Venus retrograde is giving it's really going to help bring any unresolved issues to the surface, right? It's going to give you an opportunity to heal, to rebuild trust wherever it might be necessary. Remember, Venus is a relationship planet after all. It also rules your 2nd house of finances. This is definitely a time for you to reevaluate how you manage your money, how you manage and use or utilize or leverage debt in some way, shape or form. It's also an old financial matter or even an investment of some kind could come back up and might need your attention at this point. And it's also a really good time to think about setting healthy boundaries that align your financial strategies with your actual values. So for this, you've got the Queen of Wands. That card, literally, if you've been with me long enough, you've heard me say this, right? This is about your boundaries. So you really need to firm them up this month. You've got this with the Moon card. They're getting blurry, Virgo. And you've got this with the Devil card, right? And so watch out for any vices that you might have at this time, because the 8th house can also be, although the 12th house is like addictions and stuff like that, the 8th house can be where the 12th house tends to be more about escapism, whereas the 8th house is kind of like, I'm medicating because I need to be able to cope. So watch out for that, because if you've got anything like this, some old behavioral patterns could show up for you. And it's not necessarily because you're like, yeah, fuck it, I just want to get wasted, or, I just want to forget. This is you responding to life in the best way that you possibly know how. What I'm saying is the partial part of the reason that might be unfolding under this transit is because your boundaries are being trampled in some way and you're not speaking up or advocating for yourself. So this is a time for you to kind of say, okay, you know what? If I firm up these boundaries, this is going to help. Now, it's also possible, another way that we could read this is, a fire sign woman, Aries, Leo, Sagittarius, could come back into your life and bring nothing but drama. So you've been warned, right? Keep that in the back pocket just for that moment. Now, on the 12th of the month, the Sun, or should I say Saturn, is going to Cazimi. Saturn's going to come into a conjunction with the Sun, right? This is in your 7th house of relationships, partnerships, and it's really bringing a very serious tone to your partnerships and relationships. Whether that's on a personal level, a professional level, or a platonic level, it's a moment to really evaluate a lot of the commitments or the connections that you've got in your life. Are your relationships built on mutual respect, shared goals, where we're going as a collective? Now, remember, Saturn for you rules your 6th house of your daily grind. Saturn for you also rules your 5th house of joy, pleasure, creativity, and romance. It's possible as well, because Saturn rules your 5th house, maybe you're dating somebody at the moment that and maybe your partner and your children just don't get along, and that's highlighted. Because it's Saturn Cazimi, if Mercury Cazimi is divine inspiration, Saturn Cazimi is a divine dedication, right? So this could be where in partnerships and relationships, in some way, shape or form, you are really deciding to dedicate yourself even more so to your partnerships, even more to your relationships, to make them strong, to build a solid foundation. This transit might also bring about, especially where it is that you need to set those, we've already talked about this, but those clearer boundaries. That energy seems to be prevalent for you guys this month. While this energy can feel a bit more heavy, a bit more solemn, a bit more somber, it's a really good time to solidify partnerships that really are going in the direction that you are headed. Now, the trine to Mars from your 11th house means that this could be a time where you are coming into a connection with a helpful person or a power player. And remember, for the Sun, for you, the Sun rules the 12th house. 12th house is the past, 11th house is the future. Mars for you rules your 8th house, but Mars for you also rules your 3rd house. This could be a really important or maybe even very consequential conversational communication of some sort that really helps you build not only just build emotional resilience, but also helps you sort of ease through the process or the weight of this process. For this, you've got the King of Swords, usually an air sign male, Aquarius, Gemini, Libra. You got this with the Page of Cups, which is really about your heart and your joy and your creativity. And then you've got this with the Ace of Cups. The Ace of Cups and the Page of Cups have a very sort of a very similar energy in that it's like a fresh start or a new start in some way. Now, with the King of Swords, usually an expert or maybe your expertise is you working with or alongside somebody in a harmonious connection that brings answers, that helps you get some kind of real clarity. All right, so I'll pop these here. As if that wasn't enough, on the 18th of the month, the North Node will come into a conjunction with the Sun, right? In your 7th house of relationships. We've already talked about what everything represents. This could be a past, the Sun, past opportunity around your career, because the Sun represents like a baseline level or energy around career or, your life focus or soul mission. And we haven't had this transit for 18 years. And you'll have one more of these next year before the North Node moves out of Pisces. So you haven't had this for 18 years and you won't have it again for another 18 years. I would think that qualifies as something to really pay attention to. The Sun in that conjunction, you might encounter a person, personal, professional, platonic, that feels like a fated meeting, that feels like a chance to really connect with a partnership that helps you go after your higher purpose at this moment in time. It might also manifest as like a really powerful realization or a burning need, or Pisces, a yearning that propels you forward, especially like in and around your relationships. It might even help you yeah, it might even help. Like, you might start to notice at this time that people come into your life that bring really great growthful opportunities, right? So it's a time for you to embrace connections that really inspire you and also help you to really move past what partnerships and connections just don't give as much as they get, right? Like, quite frankly. And this is actually a good thing, right? I think it's really important to get into the habit of releasing relationships that only represent one-way traffic. Nobody's interested in that, right? If it's you constantly giving, Virgo, and your sign is the sign of service, if you're constantly pouring out of your cup, eventually it's going to empty. You need to find and connect with people that are also pouring into you as well. Now, on the 20th of the month, we have the very last Neptune in Pisces Cazimi, right? There's one every year because of the sun's movement. But for the last 14 years-ish, it's been in Pisces. From here on in, Neptune's going to come into Aries, and then it will move back into Pisces, by which time the sun will have already gone round. Neptune will be back in Aries full time. This is the last conjunction between the sun and Neptune in your relationship sector. This is a rare and, I say it's a rare and potent moment. It's not rare in that you've had 14 more of them over the last 15 years. It's rare and potent in the fact that this is the last one, right? So you might feel an intuitive understanding around your partner's needs or desires at this time. And it might bring a new layer of compassion and emotional connection into your relationship. I will say, remember, Neptune does blur the lines. So watch out for confusion in or around relationships. It might be a really good time for, if you're willing to go to therapy, the results that you could get right now could be absolutely profound. Remember, Neptune does blur the lines, so watch out for, and it's a very common thing where, people start to fall in love with their counselor because they see them as like a savior, and, they make you feel seen and heard and all of the rest of it. Watch out for that, because it might, if you're one of those people and you have that experience, they're not in love with you, honey. Or, some people might be, but it's not that, right? It's that they genuinely really want to help you. And maybe, just maybe, this Neptune transit is kind of heightening that. Now, that being said, on the 31st of the month, Neptune will move into the sign of Aries. So it comes into your 8th house. But this is a move and a shift away from relationships in terms of partnerships and commitments, and a move towards transformation, true intimacy, shared resources and finances. The one thing that I do want to say as a caveat here, I do want you to be a little bit more mindful that Neptune in the 8th can make us a little bit more altruistic than usual. And since this is about joint finances, it's really important that you don't give too much away, right? It's a long-term transit. Well, I'll say it's a long-term transit. You've got a couple of months of this. You get a little taster, and then it will be in 2026 that you have this for the next 14-ish years. You might find yourself exploring themes of trust, vulnerability, personal power, empowerment in your relationships. Maybe you start to really feel that the power dynamics in your relationships start to erode at this time. And that's a good thing, because it means that you can rebuild them in a way that is fairer, more balanced. Just remember, as I said, it can make us a little bit more altruistic than usual. As someone that's just lived through this for the last 14-year cycle, I can definitely attest to the fact that it can lead to you being overly generous, sometimes to your own detriment. So stay aware, right, of how and where you're giving, and just ensure that the kindness that you're giving out is balanced with self-preservation, right? Like, straight up. It's a time for you to align your financial and emotional investments with your higher values at this time. And, since the eighth house is, it could heighten your intuition. It could really see you feeling like that you're connecting deeper to the cosmos through some kind of spiritual science, right? Astrology, tarot, numerology, all the things. For this, you've got the Four of Pentacles, so try to take some grounded steps to also hold on to your money. You've got this with the Ten of Swords, and, you know, maybe let go of this idea that you either need or need to be somebody else's savior. And then you've got this with the Two of Swords. Your intuition will be fire at this time, and because the eighth house is also the house of death, this transit for the first sort of couple of months, it may really highlight to you what actually does need to come to an end in your life. And then it's going to kind of leave it up to you, right? It will be revealed to you whether you walk that path or not. That's completely where your free will comes in. Okay, before we get into your lunations, I just want to mention you can now sign up. There's a link in the description box below. You can now sign up for my tarot course. It's up and out there. Now, if you want to spend 12 weeks with me, I'm going to teach you to read. I'm going to teach you everything that you need to know, right? You get 12 live classes. You get 2 bonus Q&As, live classes, I might add. You also get live client practice. You get live client demo. You get more PDFs than you can shake a stick at. It's a lot of info, but it's a lot of fun. It's totally interactive, right? Now, as if that wasn't enough, a lot of you always say to me, Raf, I would love to take your course, but I'm half the world away, the time zone, the this, the that, whatever the case might be. Well, I can tell you now, if you've ever wanted to study with me, but that part is the part that holds you back, I am doing a double launch. So I'm also releasing Teach Yourself Tarot. It's still me. It's still all the information that you need. It's still basically the same course, but with no live component. You do this in your own time, in your own home, whenever and wherever you can. It's completely up to you. So if you feel like you're ready to study with me and you think, you know what, yeah, I want some of that, there's links in the description box below. And as I said, you now have options of how you're going to take that course with me. All right. With that said, let's get into it. So for your moons, on the 14th of the month, you've got the full moon lunar eclipse in your sign. This is a south node eclipse. This is illuminating your identity and your self-expression. This could be where you literally, maybe you reveal something that you've been working on those things. It could also be where you sort of part ways with something and say, actually, that no longer feels like me. That no longer aligns with who I feel like I'm becoming. That no longer really takes me in the direction that I feel is right for my future. Right? Whatever the case might be, it could also be where you say, yeah, you know what? I'm ready to knock that habit or that eating practice or whatever it is on the head because I'm going for something different. For this, you've got the gate 62 and practicality, which basically says this will happen on a very real world / tangible level. This will be something that I think everybody is aware that is taking place with or for or around you. Or in your life, let's say, and you might feel sort of maybe not compelled to hide it, but you might sort of feel a little bit more exposed around the whole thing. Not necessarily a bad thing. Now, on the 29th of the month, we've got a partial, new moon solar eclipse, the last one in this axis, and then we are truly done. In the 8th house in the sign of Aries, right? This is a fresh start in the area of joint finances and resources, how you bring in money in a really big way, your intimate and personal life, a sense of transformation. It might be that you start to really rebuild your self-trust, take your personal power back in your hands, and then really dig into kind of almost like control your own financial situation. right? This could be, really like this for you, kind of just taking it all in hand and being like, yeah, you know what, I'm ready to do this. And through some kind of serendipity, you may find that what or who you need, or maybe even just the information that you need, shows up for you at just the right moment. I don't believe in coincidence. I never have. But I will say this, you know, you might have a moment where you think like, wow, what are the odds? Like, what are the odds? With that said, I wish you an abundance of all of that good stuff. Have a fantastic March. Let me know in the comments how it shapes up. Take care, and I'll see you soon.